Hello and welcome to this episode of the Hello Firstname podcast, Season 2. My name is Rasmus Hårlin, author of the book Hello Firstname, and the theme of this season is how to solve the content crisis for personalization. Let's dive in. Hello and welcome to this episode of the Hello Firstname podcast. In this season of the Hello Firstname podcast, we are discussing how the content layer and the data layer ultimately feeds the personalization layer, and how especially the content layer is structured and how we make that efficient through the use of generative AI, ultimately fueling more personalized experiences for more end customers as possible. It's based on the book Hello Firstname, which you could say this season is actually a means of gathering info enough for me and Frans to update this book. So it's like an exploratory work in process. And and today we have a really special guest. Chris, welcome to the Hello Firstname podcast.
Thank you, Rasmus.
I'm looking very much forward to this conversation. You're from Landfolk, landfolk.com. You're doing some truly impressive work with generative AI. And I have a double interest in this because I'm also I'm a host. I'm a Landfolk host. My summer house is rented out through your platform. So I have so many agendas in play at once, and I'm quite impressed with what you're doing. But before I get ahead of myself and before we dive into the tech side of things, maybe tell us a bit about yourself and tell the audience what your background is and how you ended up co-founding Landfolk, maybe a bit about what Landfolk, what you're doing there.
Yeah, sure. I'm the CTO and the co-founder at Landfolk. So even though I'm CTO, I'm still very much hands-on and help implementing stuff as much as I can. But before doing Landfolk, I were actually at Airbnb a few years. And before that, I co-founded a company called Guest.com, where we were renting out meeting rooms and event spaces and unique places to have a workshop and just get out from your normal workplace, which we sold to Airbnb, which is why we ended up at Airbnb for a few years.
That makes sense. Yeah.
And before that, I was at a startup, and before that in the consultancy business, and pretty much always doing some sort of startup thing. And I just love building things for people. I know how to code and I know how to design stuff, but it's just building awesome things for people. Yeah. And building Landfolk is just, it's so awesome because it's something that everyone have tried or either have their own home or, so it's just like, I can build something that I can use myself. And other people can use, and pretty much everyone have tried. So this is just the perfect place to work right now. But just shortly about, I guess talking about Landfolk is for people who don't know what Landfolk is.
Exactly.
We're like a curated platform with handpicked holiday homes, and Rasmus, yours is one of them.
It's crazy. Crazy holiday home.
Yeah, but it's like we try to focus on the more personal things about the houses, the design and the atmosphere and the story behind each home, right? And we want quality over quantity. So onboarding.
So if I go to landfolk.com, I would know that the homes are curated and they sort of represent a certain style and some pathos and some stories behind the home.
Each host goes through an interview process. Yeah, where they tell about their house and their unique features about their house, and we figure out if you're a fit for our platform. So we actually reject a lot of people who apply to be on our platform. It's not like you can just go onto our platform and be live in 5 minutes. And that's kind of like a feature. We want to have a vetting process where you can, where we can see if you're a fit, but also if you can see if Landfolk is a fit for you.
So I wouldn't find the typical west coast of Denmark, typical holiday home with a satellite TV and just like the other hundreds in the area.
No, no, that wouldn't be a fit. because we actually want to have like personal stuff in the houses. It's okay that there's a picture of your family if you're okay with that, or personal belongings, or that there's actually a fully stocked kitchen.
Exactly.
So
With a
that
bit
you
of coffee,
don't.
a bit of salt, a bit of
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
whatnot.
that's okay. We actually want that, because I think that's a nice thing about coming out to a personal home where you can see that people
Agreed.
actually use themselves, is that everything that you need is there. So yeah, I mean, that's like the unique thing about Landfolk, is that this is a close cooperation with the host, right? To like showcase your unique home.
And we're going to talk more about that later. How you sort of
I mean,
that's part of the content process.
So it's like this is like the whole part of the Landfolk brand, is that it's different and it's personal, but also like we want to be the homeowner's best friend, and also the guest best friend. Like try to match people to have great experiences.
I can say from personal experience, that is indeed the feeling that I got, at least when I was onboarded as a host to the Landfolk platform.
I'm glad to hear that.
And so that's great. I think one of the most exciting things about Landfolk is what you actually are achieving with quite few people. I mean, you're not a huge company, but yet you are competing and partnering, I should say, with, for instance, Airbnb. And it's a lot of that has to do with you using technology in various ways to really become more efficient. And what I found, and what I could sort of gather from not only the way that you're using the Agilic platform, but also the way that in general you're using, like with use generative AI with upstream content, and the way that you're translating stuff and making your content available in different formats and in different localizations and different languages and so on. There's some pretty interesting ways of working with generative AI there. So what I experienced is that the way that you collect and use data from hosts is quite different from like the traditional listing platform. I mean, I cannot go in there and log in and I can see the exact description of my home in different languages. I just sort of manage a story about my home, and it seems like you just take it from there. I mean, I share the story about my holiday home, and then it seems like you take it from there with generative AI, like structuring it, repurposing it, and localizing it. Can you walk us through this process and why you designed it this way?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it all started out actually before we had generative AI, because Landfolk started before ChatGPT. But we wanted to keep like all our homes curated. So it means that we also decide what the description for the host and the listing should be, and what kind of images are there and what order they're in, because we feel that we want to control the whole experience so that it's streamlined through all our different listings. But that also requires that we talk to the hosts about like what's unique about their home and what's unique about them as hosts, so that we can tell that story. And so as you said, like we collect that, but you are also able to like explain that in your own words.
My own terms.
Exactly, your own terms. And then we can use that. And in the beginning, we actually wrote it by hand, like all the descriptions based on what you thought was unique about the house. And that took a long time. It was like a real bottleneck about onboarding so many houses each week and spending so much time writing that description for each listing. So when OpenAI announced ChatGPT and their 3.5 models, we thought that, okay, we could probably do something here. So we kind of like experimented with using that information that we had from the host about the homes, and then curating or like writing a great prompt that could actually end up with the same output as we could ourselves. And we kind of quickly found out that the LLM was better at creating great outputs and more varied outputs with less mistakes, and they were more spot on than we could do ourselves.
Wow.
So we kind of quickly like pivoted to using LLMs to generate these texts. But we always had like a human in the loop. So like it was a human. We got all that information from our hosts, and then we like created a prompt
phase of
exactly. We collected that information, and then we fed it into the
also
LLM.
The boxes that you tick. I mean, does it have a tumble dryer? Is it close to the beach? Is it?
Yeah, they could use a lot of information. And also the LLMs are kind of good at knowing about like what is actually in that area. So like general things like, okay, this is close to Legoland, or this is there's this amenity here or that point of interest in that area. And when we had to do it ourselves, we had to research like every area for every holiday home, and every person had to do that themselves.
Yeah, so it's not only the writing part; it's actually also gathering the
all that information is like very time consuming.
Yeah.
So, but LLMs are very good at creating that content if they have the right input. So I think that's important part, like collecting collect the right information, and then you can fed that to an LLM, and they could create like great content based on that. But we also have a human in the loop to like validate that this is actually right and correct mistakes. And we see that we are correcting less and less as times go on, as we like modify our prompts, but also as the models get better and better. And we have tried to switch between different LLM providers, so like OpenAI and Anthropic, and kind of varies like who's the best. And
so that goes back and forth. Are you changing
it? Goes back and forth. It's still the same prompt, but as new models come out, it gets better and better.
Yeah.
So that we don't have to modify as much anymore.
And the cost has come down quite considerably, right?
Yeah, the costs have come very much down.
Yeah.
And I mean, now we can generate like the content can be generated in 10 seconds compared to us using an hour to generate a listing description, or maybe more. So it's like very, very much cost efficient, but also better at creating the content that we actually want, and using the right tone of voice and the right feeling in the writing, and do that across multiple languages. Because when
does the tone of voice change depending on whether it's like a Danish house on a German side versus a Danish side for Danish people, or how do you do that? How do you do that? Because I think this is sort of what I call the modeling phase, where actually you have the master content. That's sort of the description and whatever boxes I ticked in terms of which amenities there are. And then that is then sort of modeled into what is actually fit for a specific purpose or channel or locale or...
Yeah.
How different is it from local to local?
With our listing descriptions, we are still like experimenting with like generating a text for each locale based on this input. Right now we're using DeepL to translate the content, but we always use like so say it's a German who's getting onboarded. It's our German supply managers who's onboarding them. So they're doing everything in German. And then we use DeepL to translate to different languages. So the content is very
emails that go back and forth, and the interface on the web, and
and the LLMs are very good at just taking that input. They don't care about what language this is in. They just get the input and get the output. Of course, we tell it through the prompt to say that this is in this language and the output should be in this language.
Obviously.
But we also have a very detailed language guideline to the prompt, so it knows that, okay, you're communicating in German, then your tone of voice should be like this. We use very informal German, and you should also use these words when you communicate in German. And that's different.
Germans can be quite formal, actually.
Yeah.
Or what? How does that?
There's. So I'm not very good
at that balance of where to put the tone of voice there.
I guess it's both kind of like a brand and a marketing decision. Like, do we want to be very formal in our approach when we do German, or do we use the informal? And we kind of went with the informal way because that's what we felt was more in the Landfolk brand.
Yeah.
But there's also differences, like in Italian. Like now we're live in Italy. You have Italian hosts, and the way we communicate on the demand side, it's more informal. But that's not the way you communicate with the hosts. That's just, you do it very formal, and that's just how you do it in Italian. And then French is completely different. That's another set of like ways of talking. And
so it's true localization and not just translation. That's what I hear.
Exactly. It's both internationalization and localization to each market. It's not just a new language. It's also like localizing to that market.
It's funny that the Italian hosts would like something, prefer something that is more formal than the Germans. That's a bit of a surprise to me.
It's a surprise to me. But we have Italian employees now that said we need to do it in this way. That is the right approach to do it here. But I mean, it's not only for listings that we generate this. We also do it for our like location pages. So say that you want to go to Tuscany or
and I kind of do.
Right. And then those descriptions are generated based on like what keywords we want to match and what feeling that we want to match here, and then that is generated uniquely for each locale. So the text that is there for German is not the same that is there in Danish or in Norwegian, because they all get the same input, but they're told that this is the keywords that you need to match for German, and this is the tone of voice that you need to use for German, and then the output is different because it's different keywords for Danish, and it's the third set of keywords for Norwegian.
So is that based on search engine optimization, or is it based more on, what can you say, what would a Norwegian person like to do in this area, or as opposed to, I don't know, you're selling a summer house area in Denmark to Danish people, and they kind of know what is up and down in Denmark, whereas if you're from Italy, then maybe there are other stuff that you need to know and should be aware of. Is that how it works, or is it mainly a matter of like optimizing for SEO keywords?
I think in this regard, it's based on like keyword analyses. So we are actually figuring out what is the intent in the market. So that when Danes want to go to Tuscany, what are they searching for? So that's what we are optimizing towards. But you can't just directly translate those keywords to German, because Germans are going to use different phrases when they go to Germany. So that's a different set of content that we need to match towards that. So that's also why the content is different, because it's a different search term, even though it's the same place that they want to go. So it's
really interesting.
And you can use LLMs for that, and they're very good at creating all this content, so that we can just validate that this is correct and that is what we want.
I was talking with Rasmus Schlosser, who was working at Flying Tiger Copenhagen at that time. He said they weren't quite there yet, but they were sort of envisioning. So they get a lot of stock keeping units, a lot of products, SKUs, where the description is very limited, but they have a lot of them. So they're using Gen AI to sort of write those. And they weren't there yet, but he thought that it would make sense to not do a direct translation from one language to the other, but actually do this localization that you're describing here as well. So that you'd have like you're trying to sell some mugs, and you would for UK you would talk about tea, whereas if you are selling it on the Italian market, you would talk about coffee, because I mean, who drinks tea in Italy? and I think that's one of the first times I've heard about that. But it seems like you're taking it actually one step further, both with sort of the static master content, but also the execution content that you're using when you are addressing the hosts. And there's both a tone of voice thing, but there's also a sort of a subject matter thing. What are we actually talking about? What is worth highlighting in this area when it's someone from this market trying to sort of figure out whether they want to go to Tuscany or not?
Yeah, it's all about like market localization, not just being able to read what is there, but it needs to be localized to the viewer, so that match what they feel.
How did you get to a point where I mean, was it always like that from the beginning that you said we wanted to make sure that we localize this, or did it sort of go hand in hand with Gen AI? They said, okay, now it's actually possible to do the localized versions of the pages and the all the content that you're using, both for like the websites and the outbound communication. Was it always the idea to have it localized, or did that arrive together with Gen AI because then suddenly it was possible without you having to work 24/7?
I think it came out of us just being very scrappy about what we're doing. Is like we have a lot of high ambitions about what we want, but we are not that many people.
Yeah.
So that we had a lot of listings that we wanted to onboard, and we saw that there was a huge bottleneck about getting them onboarded. So like, what can we do here? And we were not really, we didn't want to compromise like the experience on their website, because we could have created a solution where it was up to the hosts to just create the content themselves and hope that they would do that. And I mean, a lot of hosts would do that, but some hosts wouldn't do it, and it would not be very consistent. So it's like figuring out what can we do here if we want to keep everything awesome and keep the experience right, and then
like a consistent brand experience as well. How can you
exactly
put guardrails up that makes that happen?
Yeah, and it was the same about our landing pages for our locations and our collections. Like, say that you want to find a vacation home where you can bring your dog, that's the location too. But it's very time consuming creating all these different locations and making sure that there's the right content so that Google can index it and you can read about it. Yeah. It just takes a very long time. And we could have hired a ton of SEO writers to just go nuts. But why not use Gen AI instead to help us solve that problem? Yeah. Because we saw that we needed to have these location pages if we wanted to get better SEO and to have the right landing pages so that we could announce traffic. We could do ads on Google or Facebook. Yeah. It was just something that we needed in our journey to be more competitive.
So you can say that sort of having Gen AI working for you to streamline the content layer sounds like it even has like a compounding effect, because it's making it better for the end customers to look at this and read it. It's also making it easier for you to get organic traffic, so you save on cost, and it's making the paid advertising cheaper, probably also because you get higher relevancy with the localized text.
Exactly. It's like that's a combined experience where we get all these landing pages and we create them with the right content so that when people search on Google, they can find the page. But we can also create ads on Google Ads with the same keywords so that it all fits together. And we can also use that in email marketing so that when people are interested in these locations, we also have a location that they can actually view instead of going to the front page and searching for that. We have actually a landing page for that.
So sounds like a lot of your traffic doesn't go to the front page, but it goes like directly to the destination page.
Because it's so much tied up to SEO and paid search.
Just of curiosity, and we didn't prep this, but do you see a shift in? Do you see a downward trend in the amount of traffic coming from Google in favor of, for instance, ChatGPT or Perplexity or other sort of LLM-based search engines? How's that evolving for you?
I think it's difficult for us to see if there's a trend right now because our growth trajectory is very upward, so we can't really compare year to year. So we are seeing more traffic from Google and Microsoft, but I have seen like a crazy spike in visits from LLMs like ChatGPT and Perplexity. And it's like 3 months ago there was maybe one, and now it's like going crazy. It's still low numbers compared to like normal traffic from Google, but the trend is just like spiraling upwards now. And I guess like Anthropic's Claude just announced that they can do web searches now. Okay. So I would expect that there's going to be coming even more traffic from these chat-based tools. Yeah. So it's also about like making yourself available to them.
Yeah. And I guess it's the same rules. I mean, if you're making good content that people find interesting and it's in line with what people are actually searching for, then I guess your content should also be what is linked to in the ChatGPTs and in the LLM-based search engines.
Yeah, I guess that's what I've heard, is that if you just make good content and accessible sites, then it's just that's gonna be relevant to LLMs too. So
all right, interesting. So I'm thinking back on how this sort of relates to, I mean, the data layer. We didn't talk much about the data layer, but we did talk a lot about the content layer now. And we've been talking about how it sort of ends up. It fits like a charm with the content layer. So I'm happy to. I see that as a bit of validation, at least that it fits with how you're working. But really, I'm talking a lot about personalization and where does the content meet the insights, really, because that's sort of where the personalization magic happens. And I mean, even though that localization, I consider that a part of personalization, obviously not individualized personalization. But how do you see the things that you're doing here with what you could call your master content? How do you see that sort of proliferate into the way that you are working with customer lifecycle content and personalization content? Do you see Gen AI helping you personalize the experience for guests as well?
I think we're not exactly there yet where we are able to do it, but I think we really want to explore it even more in the future, and we actually have plans to do something like that. We have this service called Daisy where you can just give it a phrase like, imagine waking up here, and it shows you these crazy images from these bedrooms from Norway where we have the views of the mountains, and we also have
amazing. It's a search engine that I can use as a potential holiday home renter, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So I can search for like a mood, and then you bring me up images that look like
exactly. It's like you can just tell it a mood. It could also be like thatched dreams or outdoorsy experiences, and it just returns you images that kind of matches that feeling.
So the most Instagram friendly phrase that I can cook up, and then I immediately can get that feeling reflected in holiday homes rented out by you guys.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess that's one part we really want to experience or experiment even more about. How can we personalize your experience even more? Because one of the things that we are thinking about doing is that, as I said before, we are localizing it to the market, but we could also localize the images to that market. So we figure out, okay, this is like the feeling that people from Denmark want when they see holiday homes. So that's the cover images that we use when you see in Danish, but it might be different if you're from Germany and if you're from Norway. It's still the same listing, but the covers are different.
Or if I'm a children's family, or if I'm a dual income, no kids couple, or
exactly.
The segments seem to be sort of the next stage for. I mean, after localization comes maybe segmentation.
Exactly. So that's like a way to like personalize the imagery on the website.
Yeah.
But
or in emails, I suppose.
Or exactly emails. Like I guess that would probably be the first place that we want to do that.
Yeah.
Because then we know a lot about you and your preferences, so that we can show you the correct images that fits.
I'm traveling with my dog, with my kids, with my wife, alone.
We can use an LLM to generate like the perfect phrase to use for Daisy. That could return that right image that just fits what you're looking for, and we could use that in the emails.
So actually using a service that you created for the customers also internally for when you are then doing your outreach.
Yeah, Yeah, exactly.
That's pretty clever.
And also, I think one of the awesome things that's happening right now is like using generative UIs, so that it have just been talked about, and that there is some experience right now where when it could be a conversational UI, where I guess we could expand Daisy to use something like that, where you enter your phrase about dreamy pools, and then
Dreamy
you see
pools and red wine in Tuscany.
exactly. Or you might not say Tuscany, but you might see these images, and when you scroll down, the LLM might like prompt you, say like, do you want to see these in Tuscany or in France? And then you pick maybe a location, and then we ask you, should we figure out how the weather is like there? And then we show you a weather forecast, and then we show you another UI component so that you can add it to your favorite list, and another UI component so that you can pick what dates that you want to go. So we personalize the interface as you go along in this journey. And I guess we could probably do something in the same vein when we do email marketing, so that the fields that we want to show is based on what the LLM thinks is the right thing to show you at this moment in your stage of this journey.
So more sort of agentic based orchestration of, I guess, not only emails, but also, I mean, say that you're building an app at some point, or we are using SMS or RCS messages even. So designing from more an agentic point of view, okay, so we have all these customers in our database, are the ones who are currently searching for a holiday home. What would be, dear sales agent, what would be the right thing to do with Rasmus, for instance, based on everything we know on him, activating what a flow that then pulls on your own LLM.
Yeah, and it have a set of UI components that it can use, and a description about this UI component should be used for this, and it takes these input, and then it knows when to use that. We do that a little on our location and collection pages. Like if you see a location, there's these related locations and unique selling points about Landfolk. These are like snippets that we tell the LLM that it can insert into the text. So it decides where it feels this is the right fit for that. But this is not really dynamic. So I guess the next step would be that this is dynamic as part of your chat experience, or you are visiting Landfolk. It's like
so one of my friends actually started a company called Made with Intent, which is essentially a way of finding out based on search and navigation patterns and interaction data from the website, which sort of stage an e-commerce customer is in. So are they just browsing, or are they like really high intent bottom funnel? And then depending on that, for instance, show the high level USPs or not. Should we show the high level USPs that are sort of branding the company, or should we show the like delivery options of this very product, like order it now and get it by tomorrow? That would be for the high intent. Sounds like that's something that you are looking into there. A question about the like the dynamic interface thing. What do you think the balance is between, because what you're describing there is also a conversation I could have with ChatGPT or with Perplexity. Is that conversation going to be had on the LLM interfaces, or is it going to be on the proper homepage as we know it now, or where is that going?
I think that's a very good question that I don't know how to answer, because maybe both.
I guess we'll have to see, but it just dawned on me that are we then trying to sort of on our websites, in the future of the websites, about creating a more branded version of what I would probably be asking ChatGPT about?
Yeah, and I think that's the very difficult thing right now that I guess a lot of people are struggling about. Like, should we create this interface ourselves and spend a lot of resources on this, or do we think that this is all going to be integrated into, say, ChatGPT, or maybe Apple figures out to make Siri better at some point, and it's going to be part of that. Who knows? Because they know a lot of things about us. So it might fit into their UI. I don't know. I think we have to experiment with going in that direction. But I also think that like we're looking into a future where we are not only creating UI interfaces or generally interfaces for humans, we're also creating interfaces for AIs so that they know how to communicate with Landfolk, and they know how they can show the correct content to whoever wants to see something from Landfolk.
Yeah.
So I think that's the way that we are moving.
One of my
right
favorite
now.
topics right now, actually. So I could imagine, like, as a consumer, having a buyer agent or an agent that was looking out for me. So an agent that I would brief on, who I want to be as a person, which goals I'm after, like on a personal level, on a mental level, or on a, I don't know, physical level, on a health level, and whatever. And only content that would sort of fit that sound agenda that I have, an agenda that I set when I am not hungry, when I am not tired, when I am, at my best. And I really can make like a conscious decision about who I want to be and where I want to go. Based on that, that's sort of the shell that I set up. And content that doesn't match that, I won't allow it in, because it will just, take me off the path, and I'll end up, eating sugar in a corner, dead drunk, because I just got tempted and I was tired, and I was watching Netflix all night because I got tempted with that. That's the kind of consumer I think that will be marketing to in the future. So not the consumer in itself, but the sort of the shell that the agent that the consumer puts up, not anytime soon.
But I mean, that agent still needs to have access to all the different platforms where they can get that data from. So that's what we have to do from Landfolk's perspective, because we have a lot of homeowners who want to expose their unique houses. So we need to somehow tell all these agents that you can find them here, and these are the tools that you can use. You can use Daisy to like find inspiring houses. You can use these tools if you want to figure out the different locations that we have, or if you want to search in our database, so that you get the right experience in your whatever agent interface that you're using to view this through. So that agent might create that UI for you, but it's using data from Landfolk. And we have to figure out how to like expose all that data. And there's a lot of different proposals right now about how should that look like.
We're probably going to do both for a while. I mean,
I think so.
Some customers will come to the website and they will be browsing on their own behalf, and they like sort of the visual way of getting inspired and whatnot. And some will be, no, I'll do this. I'll fix it up with my agent, and I'll make an informed decision based on like a deep research with I don't know, ChatGPT has performed based on my big brief and my history with it.
Exactly. I think they're both valid, and I think they still have a place, because we still go to a physical shop to browse, because a lot of people like that experience about browsing and seeing what is there. So we still need to have like landfolk.com as a place that you can go and browse and get inspired.
And much the same way as we're still going to physical stores. I like it. I was at the Danish e-commerce award nomination event yesterday. We were discussing this exact thing. I mean, when e-commerce came out, we thought this will be the death of the physical store. It didn't quite happen. I mean, but there was an equilibrium that we were so far from, so that it looked as if, now everything will become e-commerce and no one will ever go to physical store. Yet I enjoy going to physical stores. Actually, especially for clothes, more than I enjoy shopping online. But I mean, depends on whether it's sort of a convenience repurchase I need to do. I need a new pair of jeans or whatever, or whether it's, I want to get inspired. I want to see what's there. I want to find out, what is the new me.
Yeah.
All right. So where do you see like the biggest opportunities for AI in matching the right guests with the right holiday homes, like the personalization part on your platform?
I think it's going to be figuring out how to give an AI the right input, so that it knows how to decide on what to market that user. I think that's going to be like an interesting future, to figure out how are we going to do that, and how can we get that data to give an AI the right knowledge, so that it can give the right output, so that we can figure out how to market a user. Or, I mean, that's one way that we could do it. I mean, there's probably a lot of other things that we can use AI for.
Because that's pretty sort of upstream, I guess. Sounds like a very like profound and almost a agentic view on this that has an orchestration layer that comes before any kind of channel or even any kind of interface.
Yeah, I think it's always figuring out about how can we use AI to be more productive or replacing all the tedious tasks with an agentic AI so that we can focusing on keeping the human touch. And there's a lot of places that we can use AI right now. We already do that. But it's like figuring out how to use AI to match. Like I think that's very hard right now. And so yeah.
Anyway, I think it's a good segue into actually the next question that I had. I was just reminded of this this quote. I don't know who made it, but saying, "I don't want AI to do my art, so I can go back to doing the dishes. I want AI to do my dishes, so I can, do my art projects." So coming back to what is actually human, and what is the soul of and personality. What is it? I think this whole Gen AI and AI in general makes us more aware of what is actual the human input that we still need. It makes us more clever on what are we as human beings. And what I love so much about Landfolk is how much like the soul and personality that goes into every listing. And can you talk us a bit into how you make sure that soul and personality is still there, even though you are using Gen AI to repurpose and remodel that content? How do you keep that soul while keeping it consistent?
I think it's as I said before, it's like gathering this information from a real human and then giving it to an AI, but having a human validate that the output is also right, and always have a human validate how is this output until especially in the beginning when you start using AIs, is like you need to always look at the output and tweak it so that you feel that this is right. And as you get more and more experience with it and more confident, then you can give it more to the AI because okay, this actually provides good content, so I can let it loose, or I can be more. I don't have to check in as often, and I think that's how we do it in all the places that we use AI. Like we didn't just create Daisy and did a chat interface because we were not ready to just do that. We just wanted to start more simple and see how is it used, and then gradually put more AI into it. We also haven't just replaced our our support with AI bots because we actually think that our guest and host team is a feature.
So that's closer to the art than it is to doing the dishes.
Exactly, because we want you to be able to call a real person.
Yes.
If you have a problem with your home or some guest or just a general question, like you can call us and talk to real people. And that's
because
a feature.
They're not busy doing small listings and manual stuff that the AI can do.
Exactly. And we also have like AIs who try to figure out if there are something going wrong in like communication between a guest and a host.
Okay.
So we kind of like, because we don't want to
agent looking for that.
Yeah, because we want to see if there's something going off track so that we can like intervene and help people so that that something doesn't go off track. Or
what could an example of that be?
It could be like a misunderstanding, like a host who have misunderstood a feature or something like that, or we see like the conversation is escalating so that we can like intervene.
So the sentiment is going
exactly, or off. There's like a bad vibe going on here right now, and we need to fix that. So we either call the guest or the host, But it could also be like figuring out, is there somehow that we can surprise and delight? That's something that we did a lot in the beginning, and we still do it a lot.
Okay.
But try to see if, okay, they're actually booking a home here because they want to surprise someone because they're going to a wedding, or it could also be a surprise gift for a holiday or a birthday. And then we send a gift on behalf of Landfolk, or prepare some champagne or something like that. But we also have agents that look for that. It's like, okay, this is some place that we need to like
that's so cool.
Figure out that can we surprise some people here, because it's
so you have
do that for all.
So you have it sounds like you have a battery of different agents, and one of them is, for instance, looking for conversations that go off track, and then a human can go in there and intervene, and they can sort of find out, this is actually worth my time, and let's intervene here and make sure that things get back on track. Then you have another agent looking for, who could we like surprise with a seemingly random act of kindness, but there would be a good idea for making someone like feel like really special with a human touch or a gift or whatever. How many of these agents do you have looking for different ways of affecting the customer experience?
I think right now is probably a handful, but it's all gathering the same agent that's able to do different things. But we definitely want to expand that to even more. But that's I think so cool. the what we do right now is that we don't want an AI to like intervene. Like different companies might actually want to just have an AI ping the host or the guest, but we want to be notified about this, so that we can call as a human being and handle this situation, because I think that's what we want. It's important to use a human being here, not an AI. But it might be, but like sometimes we have cases where a host welcomes the guest, but they forget to accept the booking. They just say that they're welcome. And we might have an agent that would be able to spot that and just quickly ping the host, hey, remember to accept this, or just accept it on behalf of them, because that's what they wrote, that's what they expected had done. We don't need to intervene or do anything here.
That makes sense. So gradually, so say that you have this battery of agents that are looking for different like features in the customer relationships, and then depending on that, some of that could lead into like human interaction or someone giving them a call. Other of these actions that could be initiated could be with like, let's start this marketing automation flow that does this and that and sends this information there to the customer and to the host, because we're pretty sound and we're pretty confident that this can be handled by maybe not an AI, but we have a fixed process for that we can then initiate. Whereas others, I mean, that's where you give them the call and make sure that sort of you can smoothen things out. And maybe that's sort of the new customer journey orchestration.
I think so.
Like that. Yeah.
Definitely. And I think we're looking into doing the same with our supply, like figuring out when do our supply managers need to be notified about something probably not working out, or if there's something very good going on and they need to call them and congratulate them, or just generally have different agentic workflows here, looking at the different data coming in and pinging people internally so that they can act on it. And because I don't think it's going to be robots doing all this, we just need to ping the right people so that they are confident that they spend their time well.
That's very interesting. It's a topic that we're discussing a lot in Agilic, how we sort of prepare for this agentic way of working, and how we can make the platform actually tap into that or feed from that, and how that sort of fits together with the full picture. So that's super interesting.
It might be agents triggering Agilic workflows, maybe.
I think so. Yeah. And some of those will be like super simple. Some of them will be maybe more elaborate and crazy. And then you also have like the campaign communication that is just going out there, and it has to be really simple, and it's based on some feedback and maybe some, like in retail media, supplier briefs and whatnot. And as soon as the campaign has gone out, then it's actually already too old. So there's like a campaign track for it, and then you have all this battery of flows that probably agents are activating from the outside. That's sort of some of the ideas that I see actually with, I think with marketing automation in general. What's the next step for Landfolk in terms of like AI-driven customer experience? Maybe that's what we just discussed, or where do you see we're going?
I think it's definitely what we just discussed, like figuring out our internal workflows, like where can we use AI to be more efficient and spend our time wisely. But also on the DAISY side, like how can we expand that and experiment more with that? And it's probably going to be something like generative UI, where we probably want to guide you to use DAISY even more. Like, can we guide you to like find the location? And
I'll put a link to DAISY in the show notes. Everybody needs to try that.
That's good. Yeah, please do. And stay tuned because we're probably going to work on it soon.
Okay, interesting.
And it's just be very open about like what is out there right now and how can we use these tools to be like more efficient internally. So that we as humans can spend our time on what is important.
The arts.
Exactly.
The arts and whatever makes us humans. And
exactly.
I'm not talking about figuring out which squares has bicycles in them, but something that's maybe even more sort of profoundly human, I hope at least.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, final question, Chris. What's your personal favorite use case of generative AI? Could be something at Landfolk, but also something maybe that you experienced in the as a consumer somewhere.
I think I'm going to be biased because I think DAISY is awesome, but I'll probably also build a lot of it myself. But no, I the other day I tried out the deep research on ChatGPT because I have had like this game I had wanted to create for a long time. And I thought, okay, cool. I'm just gonna fill in I'm just gonna talk to ChatGPT about this topic that I had in mind, and it created like a deep research where it like figured out what the tools I should use, what technologies should I use, like what should it be called, like what should be the game mechanics and stuff like that. And it gave me like a 10-pager document that I didn't want to read because it was way too long. But I took the content and piped it into an app called 11 Reader. It's something called 11 Labs.
I know 11 Labs.
Do a lot. Yeah, they're pretty awesome. And they have 11 Reader where you can actually publish your own ebooks and have it read. But it also have an opportunity where you can give it a website and it can read it as a podcast or just like an ebook, like an audiobook. But I gave it that 10-page document and then I could just go and listen to it as a podcast. So I had like 45 minutes podcast about that deep research, like how I should create this game.
That's fantastic.
And then I just like fed that thing into Cursor and editor who can like have a like agentic flow where you can just like create the interface and like just go crazy. So like in like 3 or 4 hours, I had done the research, I had listened to a podcast, and I actually had a working game that I could play.
Wow.
And it was like just crazy, right? And I could just I had just my kids had just gone to a birthday, and on my home back, I just listened to that podcast, and I was like ready to code when I got back home. And it was an agent who almost coded that game based on that deep research that ChatGPT did.
And what was it called again? The code, the cursor and editor, or what is it called?
Yeah, it's called Cursor. They have an agent mode where you can give it like a prompt and it just create the files, edit the files until it's like satisfied with the output. And
I need to try that.
Yeah, you should definitely try that. It's pretty crazy.
Wow. Thank you so much. That was very, very interesting conversation. I think you are crushing it with your efficiency and your genuine way of ways of working with Gen AI. I think a lot of companies could and should find this very inspiring. So thank you so much for sharing all those wonderful insights, Chris.
Yeah, thank you, Rasmus. Thank you for having me.
And for the audience, I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. And remember that you can download, you can listen to the full book. I hope you can subscribe to the podcast as well if you like. we're updating it, Frans and I, the book and the manuscript. And if you want to be part of that process, do let me know what you think about it, what these stories and these podcast episodes make you think, and do share it with friends. And I hope that we're all heading for a more fun future where it's we can be more human and do less dishes. So more music, more fun, and less washing of clothes and stuff like that. So thank you for listening, and hope to see you next time. Bye bye. You've been listening to yet another episode of the Hello Firstname podcast. Remember that all models discussed in this podcast can be downloaded and are free to use. The original book, Hello Firstname, can likewise be downloaded as either the full audiobook or as a written abstract. All links are in the show notes. The podcast is brought to you by our sponsor, the omnichannel marketing automation platform, Agilic. Visit www.agilic.com for more information.